All right. Hey, since we're on Saturday, I don't know why I didn't think about doing this before when they announced they were going to put all of these holes in Tour 7. Just so we know, like it's really important when you're playing the Koh Hung Resort and the Oasis that you don't have to bring out big stuff on the non-tournament holes, but play them. We're trying to play them without big stuff and go out there and just learn how to play the holes so that you're getting the minimum score, but really take advantage on those other holes because it's great opportunities for us to win because some people are only really focused on the tournament holes, but it'll help perfect our skills because these holes have stuff in common. They have a theme. And so if you're good on one, you have a good shot of being good on another. But I want to go through all the holes just real quick so that we know like some base ways to go at them. So you can come at this one. Oh, I don't know why I took a picture. And I've got a new pen, so I've got to get used to using it here. I figured out how to get rid of everything. We got 3 shots. You can try and get on, not in pro. I am trying in pro just so that I can see if I can find the spot out there. So if I can find the spot, then people who are playing pro this week can do the max overpower hook to try and get up. So if you want to come out here and get crazy, you can go out here and try and do the max overpower hook. I set up my white rings out here with a kingmaker, and I was just off of this, and from the pro tees, I wasn't far enough left. I ended up being like right in the middle of the sand. And I tried it with a kingmaker, and a kingmaker is not going to get it done because a kingmaker is, I'm going to need something with more curl. So you're going to need like a rock or an apocalypse or something. And you can shoot up over here. And I don't necessarily like this shot because I think there's a wind adjustment you have to do here, and I don't know what it is. This shot right here is tricky to get to. So that's one. Hole number two. Number two, let's get rid of that. Hole number two, this is all dependent on whatever you get land on here when you're in the tournament or when you're in one-on-one play. So depending on where the red line is and which way the wind's blowing, because I think the red line's like somewhere in this area. So you can get, or it may be down here at the bottom where sometimes you can't get it if you got the wrong wind. And I can't remember, but I know that I do at least a 30% wind adjustment here. And I'm not sure if it shouldn't be a 40% wind adjustment. But I mean, I do a big wind adjustment here, and I try and guide it right up to it, and it takes a little bit more topspin than you think. I mean, if you've got really good ball guide, it takes probably like 3 or 4, somewhere in that neighborhood. So, but you wouldn't think that you would have to put as much topspin on as you do, but you do from both upper and lower. But this wind adjustment's really key because if you do get aimed up at it and you got the wind adjustment right, at least you'll be in the ballpark. Hole number three. Hole number three. This is one of the ones that's in the tournament. And this one here is coming at it, trying to get out into this area. And the cool thing here is that even from pro, we can get out in here. If you bring, even with like a katana ball, if you brought a katana ball, you can get you could obviously get farther up, but if you're not using any overpower, you can get pretty damn close to the same exact spot you'd be in rookie. And the only difference is you're hitting against bigger winds. And you can go all the way up to the front and just come right up at it and go for Alvy. So that hole's pretty easy. Hole number four. Hole number four. This one's in the tournament. We're going right at it. Like trying to land on this side right here and going right at it. Anytime you see anybody in one-on-one play who's hitting, if you draw a line right here at the top of that hill and hitting on this side, they just gave you like a 90% advantage because most people that hit anywhere on the other side of that fail. You always want to hit from the front, and if from this distance with a upper developed sniper, it's max backspin. This is a great hole to come out with a guardian. So if you got a guardian in your bag, you got a huge advantage because it's a backspin shot. You could win a lot on that one. This one right here is another one I'm going to try the max overpower hook shot. And when I did the video, let's get rid of that. When I did, there's A, B. Those are the prime ways. This is long iron. This is wood. You can get out here all the way to the end very easy and have a nice clean shot coming in. You got 3 different ways you can go this way. I'm trying the max overpower hook, and in the past I've tried it from this direction in rookie to get it out here. But I have a teammate, Captain. It was either Captain or Pat's fan, one of the two, showed a max overpower hook where they started off over here, and they were faced out into these rocks. And they made the gap from here all the way over and ended up in about the same spot that I've been in up here, but they did it from pro, and it might be, I think it's a better way to go in pro. It might be a better way to go because you got to make a big jump here to go from here over to the other side of that sand to get that right. Whereas here you just have one. I mean, your trajectory could be off a little bit and you could still get over. Even if you clip the rough out here and just bled forward, you'd still be fine. So I'm gonna try this. I was thinking over here in the last tournament, but I'm gonna see what's opened up over here, because especially if you have an upper developed rock, you may be able to get it to go closer to the hole. Definitely a hole to work on. But in one-on-one play, don't do any of that stuff. In one-on-one play, what you want to do is come out here with your QB or your rock, and you're either going to be anywhere from 3 to 6 rings off, depending on how much curl you have in your club. And you're going to do a max curl, max top spin, max right-hand side spin, no overpower shot, and just try and bleed yourself up to here so that you can get used to taking this wood shot, because this wood shot is like, it's wide open. Leave yourself at least 2, if not 3 rings of separation down here. And guess what? Your ball guide, here's the cup, your ball guide will be going over here. And if you moved it over and cheated and took some of those 3 rings up, you could probably get right on the point right here and be pretty close to it. Do not do that. Leave it 3 rings off and put curl on it to bring it over to the spot. If you wanted to bring the ball to that spot, you should have brought a ball that had 2 side spin. You brought a marlin. Okay. It doesn't have a lot of side spin, but it has a little. That's why I use marlins. It has a little. It can get you around a bend, but not a really deep bend, and then you have to use curl. In one-on-one, that's why I hardly ever make those shots in one-on-one, because I'm shooting at them with curl. In a tournament, I would have brought a ball that had more side spin, so I wouldn't have had to use the curl. I could have used side spin to get me to the hole. What's the next one? Hole number 6. Is this one of the ones that's in the tournament? And this is the same type of deal. This hole here is the same type of deal. You're just hitting into this narrow little neck, so the most accurate club in your bag, if you can get over there. And it's hard to get over there unless you've got something that's got some distance, and it's a pretty good bounce from where you're here with the marlin. So you may have to do it. Depending on the wind, you may have to use overpower here. This is a iffy hole. If you can make it out to the sand and you have a Spitfire in your bag, you're able to engage out in this area with your Spitfire. You can do a max overpower hook shot and come out over into this area right here and do a max overpower hook shot and get yourself up there in the chipping range, and you could recover. You can do the same thing with a Nirvana if you're up here in the front. So if you're going to fail as far forward as you can. So like when you dribble off into the rough up here, you could recover. If you can get far enough in there, there's several different ways that you can come at this. You can do a rough bump. You can backspin at it. Typically, we're having to come at it from this side right here because our landing zone's out here and we can't get enough distance to get out here. But in tournament play, you want to get enough distance that you can get right here and you can do a rough bump right to the cup. But that's not how we're playing it here. We're playing out to the middle, nice and conservative. Get up there, don't care where. Get our putt, move on down the road. Hole number 7. Marlin shot. It's got several marlin shots. You can hit just nice and simple. Just hit it right out into this area right here. You don't have to get flashy. Just hit it right out there, or you can hit it right out here. If you hit it here, you've got options where you can hit it off this island and bounce it over. You can do a rough bump depending on which way the wind's blowing, or if you had a big backspin. Yeah, I think even if you had a Grim Reaper, because I think it's a long iron shot, I don't know you have enough backspin to get you to the cup. But from out here, you have a little bit better angle, but you've got to go around this little kick out. And it wants to roll to that kick out, and it is a little bit of a trick. It doesn't respond quite the way you think it will down there, and there's an adjustment. I can't remember how to take it because I haven't taken that shot in a long time. But either one of those will work. I usually in one-on-one play use this because it's the easier drive. But I don't like hitting on this shot when you've got headwind. There's a big adjustment that needs to be made when there's headwind, and don't ever do that rough bump when there's headwind, unless you know what that adjustment is. That's a hole that could bite you even if you're just out there trying to play it conservative. Was that hole number 7? That was hole number 7. Hole number 8. Typically you end up playing this hole right here from up here at the top. And I do a 30% wind adjustment on this, and it takes a little bit more. This is like that other hole. It takes a little bit more top spin than you would think. Let's go to hole number 9. Hole number 9, this is in the tournament. You can play this however you want in the tournament, but you may, like if you want to practice, because the deal is that you can still get to the same spot out here. We're trying to get to the shadow. And when we play this from the rookie tees, if you bring out a 3 power ball, so like if you get on this hole with a 3 power ball, the thing is that I'm not using all my club. I've actually had to pull back from the red line. I'm not using every bit of my club in order to get me over there. So you have a little bit of room that you can push forward if you're using a 3 power ball, and you can get to the same exact area and have the same exact shot that you would take in rookie from the pro tees. And all you have to do is end up at that shadow. So if you want to practice this hole, bring out a kingmaker. You can practice this hole and get the same exact thing that you're going to get in the tournament. I always play this hole in one-on-one to the right or to the left because you can easily get an eagle on that side. But if I get out here and I got the right wind, I may pop out a bigger ball. All right, that's just a little bit on how to play Koh Hung Resort. Trying to get used to my pen. Let's go check out the Oasis holes real quick. Let's look at the ones let's see if there's any ones that we don't. I think they put it under O for Oasis. Is this one of the holes? This isn't one of the holes, but I play this hole. I play this hole in one-on-one exactly like I play it in a tournament. My goal is I'm trying to get up here on the fairway. And so I end up in this rough all the time, and I don't care because I have a Nirvana. And it's putting me at such an angle that if the wind's right, I can do a rough bump with my Nirvana. And if I end up out here at the end or I end up on the other side, I can do a rough bump if the wind's blowing right. Typically in tournaments, the wind's stable enough that you can do the rough bump here, and it's a great shot. Most people head over to this area right here and come up, and they get tangled up down here. And if you get tangled up down here, you're screwed. So if you bring your QB or your rock with a Marlin, and you come into this area right here where you're 3 to 4 rings off of that transitional surface, if you're using a rock, you'll have to, and it's a level 8, you'll have to go farther off. And you put on max topspin, max side spin, max curl, you'll very quickly after the first shot determine your distance on whether or not you'll just lay up here in the front or whether you got just a little too much club and you're in the rough. But if you're in the rough, you can easily get on with the Nirvana. So once you take the shot once, then you know your range, and then you just stay right there because you can come at it this way and there's no way you'll get caught up. You don't have as good a second shot as they do from over here from this distance. But a lot of people will epic fail trying to get to this distance. And out here you have, I mean, it's almost like hey, why didn't you just carry your ball over there and drop it in that spot and then start from there? And it is a little bit tougher to get on the second shot. But I always go to the right on this hole. Always. I never play to the left. I did on my lower level account in the tournament because I don't have the clubs to get me over to the right. But once you get a QB, you can go. Once you get a Nirvana, you can play to the right. This hole right here is not one of the tournament holes. Pretty straightforward. We go to this pad right here and then up at it. If you get out there with a big ball, you can come at this with a sniper. You can come at it with pretty much any wood, but what I would do is forego trying to dial up to the cup to get the eagle. Move yourself 2 or 3 rings off of the sand and bring it up along the top and just drop it down on the green and take your putt and move on down the road. Because it's tricky down there at the end if you don't have the right club ball combo to try and dial it up to the cup. And so you have to put yourself super close to that sand and stay the hell away from that sand. And one-on-one, we want to stay away from the rough. Our opponent's not going to get that eagle. Okay? And if they put themselves in the rough over here, they're definitely not going to get that eagle. So don't help them out. Just go up there and get your eagle and don't get greedy. And 50% of the time, you'll end up at a shootout. And 50% of the time, you'll just win out here on the course. Hole number 3. Hey, this shootout right here, this hole has totally changed from what it was originally. So the way I play it right now, I never really did like this island. The island was available for a while, and there is a shot that you can do out there, but I tried that shot one tournament, and it gets you close. It's basically a rough bump. You're doing a rough bump in the front, and you're trying to just stop it at the cup. So you're doing a second bounce rough bump. The other way to come at it is to go, let's pop that out, blow it up a little bit. So this island is kind of out of play. There's a shot that you can do out here, and this tree right here used to hang up over this island, and it put shadows out here. And so there was a mark that you could go to, but the tree they must have had a big ass storm, and it changed its growth pattern completely, and it now leans over the island. And so this shot right here is a little bit harder to set up because there's no starting point, but your bounces are leading you up into this area up here. You've got about 2 backspin on it, just enough so that when it hits it once, because here's the deal with backspin. Backspin doesn't take effect when you hit the ball. Backspin, you don't notice any backspin effect on your ball until it makes its first bounce. And so if you have backspin on a ball and you hit it absolutely perfectly straight, it's just going to hit that spot and it's going to just spin going in a backwards direction. So it's going to affect the shot from that point. It's going to want to pull that shot higher. So the first bounce is going to be a higher bounce. But if you had any kind of side spin on there at all, the second that it hits, it has that backspin and the side spin. So if you got left-hand side spin on there, as soon as that ball hits and that backspin engages and you got side spin on there, it jerks it to the left. And so in this case right here, we have backspin and we have left-hand side spin. So when it hits the ground, that backspin woes it back, and the left-hand side spin, when it hits to the left, it jerks it because of that backspin, and it gets that backspin going in a left-hand direction. So every successive bounce pulls you farther to the left because it jerks it when it hits the ground and it pulls you farther. So you want to put that little bit of backspin on there, and you can put max curl and it'll come up towards the hole. This green has changed because there used to be a shelf up here, and it used to be almost, oh man, it was tough. You could be right there and it was a tough putt. It was like going to Augusta and seeing some of those holes, and it was like hitting up that plateau and you were only 3 feet away and it looked like a mile. And they changed it. And this is one hole that I will not bitch about those changes. I don't do any of those. I do the rough bump. I come over the top of this tree right here and do a rough bump right here in the sand. And there is an adjustment here, and I'm not exactly sure because we have only played it a few times. I think I've been doing like a 10 or a 20% adjustment. And it gets you really close to the hole. Like real close. Hole number 5. How long is this video going to be? 1,000 miles long. I like to play this in tournaments with a guardian. A sniper works. If you're in tournaments, you're going to bring out a bigger ball so you can use a sniper, and you can do a rough bump on the green. So hold on. You can do a rough bump up here on the green. The drive is pretty straightforward. You're looking for your bounces to get over. If you can, and you may or may not with a marlin be able to get your bounces to go over. So look at the wind. So if the wind's going with you, like push it forward in a thing and see how much wind you would need. So you got one ring is 2.1 miles per hour, so you push it forward and you need 2.1 miles an hour to get over to the other side. So if you got a 4 wind that's going diagonally like this, you're going to pick up that. So you can adjust, take out the wind. You took out the side angle. So you pulled the ball over to here, and then you pushed it back forward. So that means the ball is going to end up landing right here, and you're going to pick up some distance. And it'll push you over that thing so you don't have to use any. If you got a headwind, then you pull up against, you take the side wind out. And people always laugh when they see me take the side wind out on headwind. The reason I do that is because that's going to tell me how many rings into power I am. So like I'm 2.5 rings into power. That means I'm 5 miles per hour of wind into power. And it's like 8 is max. Like 8 rings is max overpower. So that means I need to be like 5/8. I need to be more than half. I need to put some overpower on it if I want to fight that wind, if that wind is going to lay that shot down. And then the second shot coming up here, the best way to come at it, you can come at it from the island hopping over. You can do a rough bump, or you can try and stick it on the green, and there is a backboard. You can try a dunk here if you've got a guardian. You might be able to. You might be able to grab a hold of the top. If you can touch the top of that, you could probably just bring it back down towards the cup. But you have 3 options if you have a guardian. You may only have 2 if you have a sniper, either here or the rough bump if you can get up there. I was out here earlier. I did this hole with a quasar, and I was easily in my sniper range. What's the next hole? 5. Are we playing this one? No, this is the fish hole. I haven't got the fish hole yet, so I'm not sure which way the wind's going to blow in the tournament. It'll either be a 20 or a 40% wind adjustment on that rough bump, and you need a guardian. I'm not sure in this game because we're getting it like where we're at. It's harder to play in pro. So any practice we get here is just like, I wouldn't worry too much about this. We'll have to figure this. We'll have to practice with this when we get out there. but I'm going to do the rough bump because I want to get used to doing the rough bump on this hole if I can with my red line with whatever ball club combo I end up when I get here. Hole number 6, pretty straightforward. This is one of the ones that's in the tournament. We already talked about those. This is another one that's in the tournament. I've been trying the rough bump here, and I've been having to do the rough bump. I'm committed to doing the rough bump this week, and I've been doing it with my extra mile. And I've been getting it pretty close. The extra mile works and the Apocalypse doesn't. The extra mile works because it has backspin, and you need backspin on that shot. So, like in the tournament, a Guardian might not be a bad play there because you do need backspin if your sniper's not enough. But I think the sniper will be enough to stop you right at the cup. Hole number 8. Now, this is also one of the ones that's in the tournament. I haven't seen this one yet. But I did talk about there's 2 different ways to go, left or right. If you're laying up on this hole and you don't want to use any overpower, just hit to the shot to the left. The only key ingredient to hitting to the shot to the left is you need to be in front of these trees. So you need to be on this line right here. You need to be somewhere on the left-hand side so that you have a straight-in shot to the green and you don't have to use curl to get around. In one-on-one, I will more than likely be practicing the layup because it's important to have that in your bag. And that way, if the shot coming over here doesn't work for you, if you're playing from pro, I would bring out a big ball on this hole. And like if you've got this hole down and you're doing the deal and you really wanted to practice, I'd bring out a big ball and come over here and see what you can do. From the pro tees, from the rookie tees, you can come out to this spot right here and you don't have to put on any overpower. But from the pro tees, you may have to put overpower or you may need to bring a 4-power ball. Hole number 9. Hole number 9. I talked about those holes and there's still a billion things to talk about on those holes. I love this hole. I'm going to show you a way right now. And I think I have a video that I just recently posted that had some random Tour 7 play. And this hole was one of the holes that was in there. I'm going to show you how to win on this hole so that you win if they play to this island right here. If your opponent plays to there, if you can master this drive shot, you will win this hole unless they sink, because from over here, they're going to have to lay up right here. That's their shot. If they get far out there, they may be able to get to this island. And I can tell you, if I could get to that island, I'm going for the green. Because I would bring it around and use curl and stuff, and I would try and bring it around over there instead of just laying it up. But the mass majority of people will lay it up right here, and then they have a short chip rough bump that is very makeable. If they set it up right, it is very makeable. But there is a short chip rough bump. But I'm going to show you how to get on it too every time if you can master this drive. As you come over into, let's get that back up. You come over into this area right here with your extra mile 8. And you can do this. I'm not sure how big a ball I pulled out. It may have been a Quasar and it may have been a Katana. But it doesn't take that big of a ball. And you can do it with if you've got an extra mile 8 or an extra mile 9, you might be able to do it with a Marlin. As you start in this spot right here and you do not, your first bounce is right here and your second bounce is going to be out in this area right here. And that's as close as you can get it because you're trying to keep 2 rings off of this sand because sand is a magnet. So you're trying to keep a couple of rings off that sand and you're aiming out into this direction right here and your second bounce is in the rough. And you want your second bounce to be in the rough because you're going to put on max curl. You're doing a blind curl shot. The ball guide's going like this. And you're trying to adjust your top spin, back spin so that when you're at the cup, or not at the cup, but when you're in this spot down here, you're coming in and you're hitting out into this area and you're pointing out into this. But your second bounce is like right here. You want, if you draw your arc, you want it so that when that arc, when you put that curl on there and you put on all the curl that comes on that extra mile, instead of the ball coming in straight, the ball came in from this direction. And so you're trying to gauge like what your direction is with the max curl on it, and you're trying to get your extra mile so that it's straight down that fairway which means that it came in on this arc. And that arc is not represented in your ball guide. So you're just trying to pivot that ball around, and you're trying to make sure that that second bounce is in that rough. You will just bleed off because you had to put on, if you have an extra mile 8, you'll have to put on not maybe all of it, but at least 6 topspin. And you can swing it around and it'll just dribble onto this fairway pad. And if you land on that fairway pad and your opponent doesn't, you just won this hole. It's guaranteed. They spotted you a shot the second they shot to the right, because from that spot right there, you're now close enough that your second shot. Let me zoom in over here just a bit. Erase that. Your second shot's going from somewhere on here, and I don't care where I'm at on there. Your second shot can engage this island. And so the angle that you're coming in at it, when you're facing off in this direction, your red line's going like this, so it's cutting that island. And wherever it pinches up along this curvature, so if it's up high or whatever, I don't normally try and set this up. I'm not too concerned about it because it's almost foolproof. You can come down here to the bottom and set like 3 rings up from the bottom and put on max side spin, max left hand side spin, max backspin, and max curl, whatever the club is. And it'll hit this pad and make the jump over here, and it'll swirl around, and it'll either end up on the back, or it'll end up by the cup, or it'll end up somewhere on the green down here. And you're either on the green or on the fringe. You take your chip and you go home. It's a super easy. You can do it with whatever club you have in your bag, as long as it has some backspin. It's better when it has backspin, like a sniper, like a guardian. If you got lower developed stuff, once your guardian gets to like level 5 or 6, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in that neighborhood, I know that club will hurt you on a lot of shots, or it will make you have to scramble. But there's a lot of those shootout shots and a lot of those shots where it can't help. But there's a lot of the shootouts in this where if you've got an upper developed sniper, it's definitely a club to have. But this hole right here, I look at this hole every time I get on. It's just an eagle hole. But this is a hole that most people think of as a tough eagle. And I don't see anyone who shoots to this island. And I have no idea why. Why the hell are you asking me to hit? Hell, if I was going to hit up there, why didn't I just hit over here? I mean, distance to the cup wise, I mean, come on. Don't fall for that old trick. This spot here is closer to the green. Thank you very much. All right, that was the holes that are in there, just to help you out for some of the holes that we are not playing in the tournament that we haven't talked about, because I want you guys to go out this week and really just practice these holes with the Marlin. And occasionally, like if your opponent brings out a really big ball and it's on a tournament hole, bring out a big ball. If it's one of those holes, because if you can put yourself in the same spot on your drive that you would be if you were in rookie, then you're practicing the same shot coming in, even if the wind's different. So don't be afraid to get aggressive on some of the holes. But the deal is, we're playing for minimum score right now. You need to make sure you have your minimum score, your 24 in the bag before you even get to the tournament. So you're starting the tournament off, and all they have to do is count the bonuses that you get. And 24 is in the bag. All right. Thanks for watching.